Long before 50,000 fans chanted his name under stadium lights, Cristiano Ronaldo's world was a tiny speck in the Atlantic Ocean. This is Madeira, Portugal, a steep, wind-swept island completely cut off from the massive European mainland. Inside a cramped house with a leaking tin roof, the family survived on the margins. His father battled severe alcoholism, sometimes vanishing for days. His mother, Maria Dolores, worked as a cleaner, figuring out how to stretch a single pot of soup to feed 4 hungry children. The financial strain was so heavy that years later, his mother would confess a painful truth. When she discovered she was pregnant with her youngest son, she strongly considered an abortion. She didn't think they could support another life. The boy owned nothing except a football. These narrow, uneven cobblestones served as his very first training ground. To keep the ball moving here, he had to navigate rough terrain and bleeding knees before he ever stepped onto a blade of grass. This environment operated as a crucible. Growing up with zero resources and no safety net forged a primal, unshakable hunger for survival. Poverty produces countless kids who are good at football, but by age 8, playing against older, bigger boys, Ronaldo showed a raw, aggressive speed that allowed him to dominate them entirely. How exactly does a child starting from a place of such limited means build the psychological armor required to dominate a global sport? His career suggests a unique alchemy, an ability to take every deficit and roadblock and process them into something useful on the pitch. At 12 years old, an opportunity forced him to pack a small suitcase and leave his family, his island, and his mother's cooking behind. He relocated to the Sporting CP Academy in Lisbon. The mainland was cold and hostile. The other academy boys mercilessly mocked his thick Madeiran accent. The bullying was constant, leaving the 12-year-old completely isolated. He would often cry himself to sleep, aching for home. While other kids sneaked out for mischief, he reacted to the isolation differently. He sneaked out to the training ground in the pitch dark. He ran sprints alone, lifted makeshift weights, and kicked a ball against the wall until the groundskeeper finally turned off the floodlights. Lisbon's hostility forced him to construct an obsessive work ethic. Out on that grass, the ridicule stopped. The pitch became his sanctuary. 3 years later, at age 15, doctors discovered a racing heartbeat. It was a terrifying diagnosis, dangerous enough that they told him he might have to stop playing football completely. He underwent laser surgery to correct the erratic rhythm in his heart. Instead of taking weeks to fully recover, he was back out on the pitch sprinting just days later. Brushing up against the potential end of his only ambition eliminated any concept of giving up. He took that brush with mortality and converted it into a relentless, daily urgency. In the summer of 2003, Sporting played a friendly match against Manchester United. A skinny, showboating teenager in green and white stepped onto the field and completely dismantled United's seasoned Premier League defense, leaving them chasing shadows. The performance was so devastating that manager Sir Alex Ferguson demanded to buy the boy immediately, bringing him to the massive arena of Old Trafford and handing him the legendary number 7 shirt. Ronaldo arrived with plenty of flashy stepovers, but Ferguson issued a strict critique. Tricks do not win trophies. To survive in England, football requires a ruthless end product. He absorbed the criticism and transformed his body. After everyone else went home, he stayed behind to hit 100 free kicks in a row. He spent hours in the gym, turning his slight frame into a machine and his legs into pistons. Then came the 2006 World Cup. After an on-pitch altercation with his United teammate, Wayne Rooney, the English press turned on Ronaldo. They branded him a cheat, labeled him a traitor, and even sent death threats. He weaponized that intense national hatred. He returned to England, silenced the crowds, and fired off a 42-goal season, securing a Champions League title and winning his first Ballon d'Or in 2008. Ferguson's high demands and the public's venom served their purpose. He converted raw vanity into an uncompromising, unstoppable professional standard. In 2009, Real Madrid paid £80 million to acquire him. The boy from Madeira was officially the most expensive footballer on earth. His output in Madrid defied logic: 451 goals in 438 matches, carrying through the record books and lifting 4 Champions League titles. This era was defined by one specific rivalry. On one side stood Lionel Messi, the natural, magical artist. On the other stood Ronaldo, the relentlessly engineered machine, calculating every way to surpass him. Yet off the pitch, the ruthlessness softens. He has quietly funneled millions into children's hospitals, funded cancer treatments for young fans, and remains fiercely protective of the mother who almost couldn't afford to have him. The hotels, the brands, and the immense wealth operate as a fortress. It is a calculated empire built entirely to ensure his family never has to return to the vulnerability of his childhood. You might be looking at your own version of those dusty cobblestone streets right now. Maybe you're fighting through isolated nights, dealing with a lack of support, or facing a massive deficit of your own. The limits placed on you are only boundaries if you accept them. When they mock your ambition or when the environment tries to break you, harvest that friction. Use it as fuel. Because sometimes the only thing separating the child with nothing from the person with everything is the obsessive, unrelenting courage to believe the impossible.